A lot of people hate game. Feminists hate game. Some incels, some diehard incels hate game. Feminist allies, these soy boy cucked out SJW men hate game. All kinds of people hate game, right? The establishment hates game. The notion of game, it drives them up the fucking wall. It's fucking hilarious if you think about it. Okay, definitions first. What do I mean by game? Very simple. Game is the colloquial term for the concept whereby sexual seduction in this current deregulated sexual marketplace can be reduced to a set of algorithms or processes or behavioral dynamics that will get you to fuck any girl that you want. That's game. Now, what does this mean? It means that, in the current sexual marketplace, well, it's deregulated. Now, what does deregulation mean? It means that a woman is not limited by any kind of social pressure, and that allows her to have sex with whomever she wants. Now, because of this, it's very easy to manipulate a woman into having sex with a guy, any guy. A guy, no matter how ugly or short or pathetic, if he masters game, truly masters it, and understands that game works for every woman, well, he will be able to fuck any woman, no matter how hot she may be, no matter how out of his league she might presumably be. He will be able to fuck any woman, because the insight of game, and this is key, and the thing that drives people nuts, the central insight of game is very simple. It's that people are mechanistic. You push certain psychological buttons and you will get certain predictable behavioral results. Nobody wants to feel like they're an automaton, but that's the fact of the matter. The vast majority of people, I'm talking 99.95% of the population, you hit certain stimuli and you will get certain results, both positive and negative, okay? I mean, it goes in all directions. And this is a central tenet of marketing, okay? You hit people with certain stimuli, you tell them certain things, and they're gonna buy your product. They're gonna vote for your candidate. Yeah, it works, okay? If it didn't work, people wouldn't do it, okay? I mean, you gotta understand this. But this truth about human beings drives certain people up the fucking wall, because it basically means that most people do not have agency. Most people can be manipulated. Most people, most women, can be gotten into bed if you know which buttons to push and in what order to push those buttons. And this is something that bothers people enormously. But that's not the point of this video. Now, the point of this video is why game matters. And it's because of the central insight. And it's because of something else, too. That, if you master game, you can apply the principles of game in other areas of your life. In other areas of your life that are very important. In your business life, in your social life, in your family life. Game is essential. Because, like I said, it understands that people are predictable in their behavior. And therefore, if you master game, you can apply game not just to picking up girls. That's trivial, okay? I mean, it's fun to fuck some girl, but it's much better to use game to get shit tons of money from clients, your career. You see where I'm going here? And that's why I urge you to study game, to learn pickup game, yeah. Because pickup game, yeah, sure, fine, it will get you pussy, yeah. And you practice it enough, and you get good at game, and you can go to any city in the world, and if you can talk the language, you'll be able to pick up any girl. Any girl, no matter how hot, you can get her with game, but that's not why game is so valuable. Game is valuable because you can apply it in your business, in your career, in your profession, whatsoever that profession or business or career might happen to be, because people don't change, you see? And ultimately, in just about every line of work, it really doesn't matter if you're a genius. What matters is how you handle other people. And ultimately, that's what game is about. It's about handling other people to get them to do what you want them to do. Now, ultimately, it's about manipulation. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what we're talking about here. That's what game teaches you. It teaches you how to manipulate people. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I mean, why? Why is it a bad thing to manipulate people and get them to do what you want them to do, huh? I mean, explain that to me. We manipulate people from the time we are 3, 4 fucking years old. And do you know how I know this? Because I'm manipulated just about every goddamn day by my kids. Yeah, my daughter is 6 and my son is 4, right? And these little monsters, right, they manipulate me and their mother like crazy all the goddamn time, see? And you know, like my son, my 4-year-old, what does he do, right? To his mother, he cries. He cries and has a tantrum, but he doesn't cry and have a tantrum with me because he knows that having a tantrum with me doesn't really work, that I'm not going to give him what he wants. So you know what he does? Huh? The little 4-year-old little shit, right? He comes over to me, but actually he sort of like slinks around me. He doesn't come straight at me. He like slinks around, and like I might be reading a book or something, right? And he'll like perch himself right here, right? And start like looking over my shoulder at my book, right? And start whispering, you know, and saying that he really wants a Kinder Surprise, right? Kinder Surprise is some stupid like egg candy kind of thing. It's basically a toy wrapped in a chocolate egg, right? You break open the chocolate egg and there's a toy inside, okay? And he loves this shit. It costs like $1, okay? And the thing is that he always wants one, always, all the time, because, you know, there's chocolate and there's a toy, and the toy always changes. It's always a surprise, and of course he wants one, and of course he manipulates me. He tries to manipulate me, and many times very successfully, right? And he'll like smile and cajole me and eventually get me to do what he wants. He's manipulating me, and that's the point. See, he learned to manipulate people all on his own. We all manipulate from the time that we are children. We manipulate our parents, we manipulate the people around us. We try to get them to do what we want them to do. A lot of times, in order to get people to do what you want, which is actually going to be good for them, to confront them and to like hammer it home and like be all pushy about it, it's not going to get them to do what you want them to do, which would be beneficial for them, okay? I mean, a lot of times you have to maneuver people, you have to manipulate them in order for their best interests to be satisfied. So you say manipulation in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's why you're manipulating people, okay? Sometimes you want to manipulate people so that they will all do some project that will make the company flourish and everybody get a pay raise, okay? And you're going to have to maneuver them because a lot of times people have different interests, you know, different priorities, what have you, their egos and whatnot. And so my point, and to go back to the overarching point of this video, game teaches you how to manipulate people. And that's why it's so important. I mean, I understand why a lot of times we wish it weren't the case that you need to manipulate people in order to get them to do what you want. I understand why. It would be wonderful if we lived in this magical world where by logic and reason, everybody would listen to you, listen to your logical argumentation and say, oh yes, you're totally right. I was totally wrong. I'm going to do what you said. It would be wonderful if we lived in such a world, but do we? Do we live in such a world? Of course not. Of course not, you know? And a lot of times when people realize that they're wrong, they hold on to their wrong belief tighter, okay? Because they're a fucking ego, yeah? And that's why you have to learn game. Game teaches you to maneuver and manipulate women to get them into bed, yeah? Which is, of course, what you want, especially if you've been sexually unsuccessful. But the tools you learn in game, they are the tools that you can apply everywhere with all of the people you meet. Men, women, children, older people, fucking nuns, and fucking who knows who. With everyone. Because see, ultimately in life, you have to deal with people. It's only by way of dealing with people that you can get what you want, because ultimately we are social animals. So learn game. Learn game. And remember, game is like calculus, okay? It's always the same everywhere. You know, Leibniz and Newton discovered, quote unquote, calculus, or invented calculus, or however you want to put it, right? They were working at roughly the same time. They came to the same conclusions, totally independent the one of the other. What does that tell you? Yeah? And you go here, you go there, you go to Tasmania, Timbuktu, Toronto, wherever the fuck, and you will find teachers who are teaching you calculus. Are they teaching something different? No, it's the same everywhere. The only difference is that, say, this teacher might be a better teacher or this teacher a worse teacher, but the subject matter is always the same. The same is going on with game, with pickup game. It's always the same. The only thing the difference is who's teaching it. And the only difference insofar as who's teaching it depends on your reaction to that teacher. Because some guys, some guys teach game and, you just don't click with them. And with some other person, you click really well with them. But they're not going to be teaching you anything different, just as the math teacher in Timbuktu or Kalamazoo is teaching the same thing. It's just an issue of personality of the professor, okay? But learn game. I don't give a shit who you learn it with. Learn it, okay? You can learn it from books. You can learn it online. You can learn it from gurus that you have to pay $500 for a weekend or whatever the fuck, which I personally don't think that you really need to pay, but that's what I think. That doesn't really matter. You can learn it. It's out there. That's the beauty of the online world and YouTube and shit. All this shit is just out there. They beamed it all over the place. All you have to do is just get on a web browser, start looking around, and you can learn this shit. This shit applies to all of life. That's why it's so important. Because see, ultimately, chasing pussy, getting pussy into bed, right, is of course an evolutionary priority for a man, yeah? And so, of course, the men who are learning game in order to get pussy, of course they're going to pay attention. They're going to pay strict attention because they want to get laid, because their whole fucking body, their whole existence drives them towards getting laid, right? But the fringe benefit of learning game, yeah, sure, you apply it to pussy, but you could apply it everywhere else, and that's why game matters.